KTRS.
Welcome to Girl Talk on the Big 550 KTRS, the talk of St. Louis. I'm Julie Buck for Nicole Genovese.
I'm Max Foizey for Nicole Genovese.
We want to welcome Deanna Moseley to Girl Talk. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you've got your own music studio, and tell us what that means. You're teaching kids and adults, or how does that all work?
I teach ages 6 to ageless, so I have I've actually taught kids as young as 5.5 and adults, and I teach piano and voice. It's private, one-on-one with me. Of course, piano is piano. I learned about keyboarding and music theory and everything, but the vocal part, I teach contemporary styles. I don't teach anything classical, and so they want to learn pop and country and rock, and
I bet that's more fun for the kids.
It is. It's because they're learning what they want to learn.
Right.
I don't force them to do any songs that they don't want to do. They come in and we just bond, and I immediately find out what they lean towards. You know, the younger kids, they might want to do, songs from some of the musicals that they've seen or some of the shows, like Frozen or Moana or something like that. And then the teens are, Olivia Rodrigo. I've got some.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get into some crazy lyrics, and then what do you do? You're
I change them.
You just change them.
I change them. Yeah, they can't sing anything lyrically inappropriate. Some songs, very rarely. Every so often, I'll get one song that I'll just say, we're not doing it. We just can't do it.
It's like Kids Bop.
You
kind of make it appropriate for all ages.
Yeah,
right.
I love this idea, and I think it's so important because in a lot of schools, the music programs have been cut, and this is, for some kids, this is it for them. This is their avenue of feeling like they belong somewhere. So it's so great that you're doing this.
Right. It really is very fulfilling. I had no idea that this is what I would be doing, to be honest with you. Oh, yeah. Because I opened in 2004, and I was at a pivotal time in my life where I always knew I was going to be my own boss. I was going to be an entrepreneur. It was just in my blood. And I was leaning more towards counseling because I just love working with people and helping them become better versions of themselves.
But this kind of, in a way,
and it is,
isn't it?
It is. My mom was a huge advocate of this, and she's been deceased for a couple of years, but she was hammering away saying, you really need to do this because you've been doing this your entire life. Because I've been doing the genres that I teach, I've been doing them since middle school.
I was reading your bio, and it's really interesting how that you've been in the music field for your entire life, and you headed to Nashville for many years and performed there. Tell us about your background and how you went to school and all of that.
Well, I think the person that was most pivotal for me to do this was really the high school band director, because I was singing and co-writing with a friend of mine back in middle school. It went back that far. And my first stage performance was when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And then I got to high school.
Fire was just in you since then. Yeah,
I just knew what to do. I mean, it was just instinctive. And
you're lucky because not everybody gets that gift.
Well, you know how some people are just great soccer players.
Right.
I mean, they're great basketball players. This is what I do. This is what I've done my whole life. So the high school band teacher wanted me to sing for the jazz band, and then he was, I really want you to sing for my band, which I happened to be a wildly successful wedding band in Central Illinois. And so I was gigging with him in high school and getting paid for it.
So you're doing cover stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing that in high school, and then I went to a music school, Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois, and we were at the grassroots of the major there called commercial music. And now commercial music is predominantly the recording aspect, but back then, when it was just getting started, we had to learn the recording aspect, plus we had to sing in the studio and do, the vocals for our peers, and then we had to be part of musical groups. So I was being trained classically and with the contemporary music as well. So that really laid a really strong foundation for me, because I was in the top classical choir that was there that toured during Christmas, and the top vocal jazz group that was nationally known and recognized. So I was getting all the genres all through college. So then I went to college. I went to Nashville, and I don't know if you remember it, but Opryland USA used to be, okay. I was in the top show there, which was Country Music USA.
Oh, cool.
So it was a lot of fun. And I was Reba, Patsy Cline, and Dolly Parton.
What was your favorite song?
From that show?
Yeah.
I'd
have to say Sweet Dreams by Patsy.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Patsy
it was a showstopper. And, we were singing in front of, each show had 3,000 people. The theater had 3,000 people. So coming straight out of college and doing that. So then I got into bands down there.
Yeah.
And mostly did a lot of demo work. When songwriters needed a singer for their songs. And I did that for 13 years. And it was fun. I had a side job going on the side just to make sure that I kept, money coming in at all times. But the experience that I got doing that, you can't beat that live stage experience and that studio experience and singing all different genres and never knew what you were going to be singing.
Right. And I love that you ended up coming back here to St. Louis, and now you're bringing your experience back and showing kids, how to do it. And you've got the experience to share with them. So do you ever play some of your music for them? Do they ever get to hear it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We do I do some of my original music as well, but we do 3 concerts a year. I get the students up and they're absolutely epic.
At the Deanna Moseley School, you do it?
No, we go to Brewski's in O'Fallon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
With the kids?
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's no brewskis being served.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, that's
and
fun.
The reason I go there is because Russ, the owner of Brewskis, is a huge live music supporter. And he's got a couple of restaurants and everything. We do it on a Sunday afternoon.
That's a great idea. So they get to have an actual concert. Yeah.
Correct. And it's I have a live band. I mean, it's the whole deal. I hire the band. They're all completely professional musicians, and it's really interesting with them. The people that I have in my book to do it, they're like, "Oh, can I do this one?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm all set," because they want to do it. The seasoned musicians want to sew in to the young people, but we do it 3 times a year. We have one actually September 18th coming up, and the band will be on the stage literally from 2 to 6:30.
Oh, how
we get
fun.
a 15-minute break because there's that many kids that are doing songs.
And then different kids from your music studio come in and they sing or they play the piano. And they perform. What do you do when you get a kiddo that is really zealous and excited to do this, but they might not have the gift? How do you handle it?
To me, anybody that wants to learn has the right to have lessons and learn. And if somebody has pitch problems, I focus on a song that doesn't have a lot of notes and a lot of interval changes. And we always get with a song that they're familiar with, because if they know it already, then they're going to be comfortable singing it. So instead of like having to learn something brand new, to me, the skill level has nothing to do with it. It absolutely has nothing to do with it. Everybody, any skill level.
Not everybody's going to be performing in Nashville. Right.
Right. And everybody doesn't come to the studio to learn how to perform. See, there's buzzwords going out there, performance-based learning, and I don't agree with that, because to me, not everybody is wanting to perform.
Well, that's a great point, because my wife plays a little bit of piano, and just to watch her walk through the living room and then just tinkle the ivories for a little bit, it's amazing. And she's not performing for anybody, but it's just a wonderful skill to be able to develop and express yourself. And so I think you're definitely helping people express a different part of them.
Right. It's therapy for them. Yeah. It's an outlet for them. And so I don't push students to perform. And I address that in my welcome letters to students, and just say, whatever your journey is, whatever experience you want to have from this is what you'll get from me. I never push anybody to do a performance, because they could be an adult that just wants to do karaoke at their wedding reception of their daughter or something. They want to surprise somebody.
Do you get adults like that are like, this is just, I want to surprise somebody for an anniversary or their daughter's wedding?
I've had women come in that wanted to sing a song, and we record it for her husband, maybe for Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you have the ability to do that, to do all of that at your studio?
Do. Yeah.
Wow. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
What do you help them pick the song, or do they come in and...
Well, usually they come in with something that's meaningful to them, and then we have to work around it. Because sometimes they'll say, I love this song, but I can't hit that high note.
But you're like, sorry, you're not Whitney Houston.
Right. Yeah. Well, we work around it.
Yeah.
And I change the key a lot of times. I don't know if you it's kind of hard to explain what that is, but you know how you're maybe singing to the radio and you're like going, I do great until I get to this part.
Right.
And then you can't do it.
It doesn't go any higher than that.
I can change it on the fly. I mean, because obviously I'm equally as tasked at piano as in keyboarding as I am the vocal. So I can change it and say, well, does this key work? And then they're like, oh, that's great.
And also for something like that, I don't think the husband is going to be critical.
Well,
that's don't sound like when it's his
like
wife.
Simon Cowell.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to do.
You're
for
fired.
That was dreadful. It was dreadful.
Yeah, that's true.
Julie's really like, wow, people are awful, aren't they? And you're like,
well, hey, I have a text line here at the radio station, and people let me have it every other word I say. So I mean, you never know what somebody's reaction is gonna be. But that's really funny. You're right, Max. That's true. It is a very nice gesture and a very romantic thing to do. Music has been a big part of my life. I have no musical talent in my body, but my mom was a singer on Broadway, and my parents, every holiday the house was filled with music. And my dad used to say he always wanted at least one of his kids to be able to play the piano. And my brother can play by ear a little bit. My dad had 8 kids, and none of us can play the piano. I mean, he grew up during the Depression, and so he didn't have the opportunity to have those lessons. And none of us, I tried. I mean, they had Ernie Hayes, who was the ballpark organist, come to our house, and he would smoke and try to teach me piano. I mean, it was in the early 80s, and he'd be like, you're just not getting this. And then he'd smoke another cigarette. Every good boy does fine.
Yeah.
Is that still the thing? Yeah, it didn't work for me. But I would imagine that, Deanna, you're nothing against Ernie Hayes, but you probably connect with people on a different level when it comes to teaching them piano or voice lessons.
I have a very, very close relationship with all my students. I know them very well. I'm very, I guess you call it disarming.
Yeah, I could see that. You're very calming. Yeah.
There's nothing that they can do that's going to impress me, and there's nothing they're going to do that's going to make me say, oh, dear,
and you're
a horrible.
Mom. You're a mom, too, so that makes
Correct.
a difference, right?
Correct.
How many kids do you have?
2 boys.
2 boys. I'm a boy.
They're
mom.
adults. They're adults. Oh,
mine too, but I pretend like they're not. Yeah. I still send them to the pediatrician, even though they're in their 20s. But that's another topic for another day. So this is great. So are you still taking students?
I always have a waiting list.
You do?
Always. I opened in 2004, in October of 2004, and had a goal of 10 students by January, and I had 30.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's never let up. It's never let up. I will tell you, I'm interested in hiring a young woman this is going to be hard to say, but equally as experienced as I am in the all genres. And
and it might take some training for you to
right.
help.
I would have to train her to say, this is how we teach and this is how we do this. And I would love to hire somebody because I really want to alleviate that waiting list. And frankly, I've interviewed a lot of the teachers in the area, love them and have mad respect for a number of them, but by their own admission, they can't sing. You've got to be able to demonstrate. You've got to be able to do what the students are wanting to sing. Right? You got to be able to show them.
Yeah.
And have you ever been to like a wedding and somebody's gotten up and sang karaoke and they just sound real classical?
Yes,
that's not me.
Or really taught, or really
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know what you're saying.
And so they're not experienced in the contemporary styles, and you just can't hide that. And there's such a huge part of what I do is showing by demonstrating. Well, this is how you do it. This is how you get that, and of course that belting thing that is so prevalent in pop. If you don't know how to do it as a teacher, you can't teach it because you got to know what it feels like to do it.
Yeah,
because it can be very dangerous for the vocals, chords, and everything.
If people like what they're hearing, how do they get on that waiting list?
They just get on the waiting list. That's it. And
where
it's
can
really,
they go, though? Is there a website? Is there a place that people can go to?
They can email me at Deanna@dmmusicstudio.com. Get on Google me, Deanna Moseley Music. It'll pop up, and just reach out to me. I get roughly 5 or 6 inquiries a week.
Wow. Okay. So piano lessons, non-classical vocal instruction, audition coaching, consulting. So if you're wanting to kind of help direct people toward auditioning for something? Like, let's say they have an audition for a school play or for a commercial or something like that. Are you willing to help with those things too?
Yes.
But again, the waiting list would probably be in or is that different?
If they're a one-timer, I can squeeze them in. It's the weekly that's very hard. But the one-timers, I can get a couple of them in. I just had a teenage girl come in for American Idol audition. And she made it. I got her all up and going, and she made it through the producers round. So
she did. So this could be somebody that down the road we could have an eye on. So this would be exciting for St. Louis. We love that.
Yeah. Well, I have one girl that had an album release party out at in Cottleville a couple of weeks ago. So she's on to something. I have some 10-year-olds that are absolute firecrackers.
Really?
And then I have, it's whatever they want to do. I don't like to say, oh, I've got this one, because it's really just not about promoting me and I have this student that's doing this, because everybody has their own path and their own journey.
Of course.
And so they all have their victories. Just because some of the victories are more public and more visible, I try not to focus on the ones that seem to be destined for stardom. I don't know how to explain that.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Deanna Moseley Music Studio. You can Google her. You can find out more about the studio online, about the audition coaching, non-classical vocal instruction, piano lessons, or if you know somebody that's looking to teach, this might be the opportunity for them. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us on Girl Talk today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
We'll take a break and we'll be back with more Girl Talk next on the Big 550 KTRS.